I got interested in race cars at an early age. My dad, Art DeLaney, ran the Maston Street Armory where they always had the clutch artists, Autorama, all the race cars and the vans and the show cars and whatever. And as a young kid, I was allowed to take the day off before the show when they were moving in the cars, and I got hooked on the paint jobs and just being around them. And that grew into a love affair that I did for many years before I even went to a racetrack. But they used to have an old sign painter there just doing show cards for, food courts and things of that nature. Now this is back in the 60s. As it progressed, I got more interested in the race cars and what they looked like more than the mechanical end of it, and ended up going to Niagara Drag Strip Easter Sunday 1968 with my dad's cousin Don Brown. And it was just what I needed. It was the shot in the arm. I was fascinated by the paint, the lettering, of course the performance of the cars. Great racers that are still out there, Jimmy Otti, Jimmy Zakia, Dickie Oldfield, they were heroes of the day back then, and what an influence. And just to walk around and be near those guys and see their cars, and you forget how young they were back then, you know. So my interest in that, went home, started building model cars, drawing race cars, got through school, knew what I wanted to do. In 1975, the day after graduation from high school, I was lettering race cars and painting signs, and that's what I've done all for my adult life. So it's been a wonderful trip. Love hand lettering. Of course, we have a commercial shop here as well. You know, we do fleets of vans and commercial signage and things of that nature, but it's nothing like sitting out a milk crate and picking up a quill and laying down gold leaf and striping and airbrushing, and I could do it all day long till they bury me. Of course, you know, not having a lot of money, you know, I'd save it up and go buy a magazine, and it would have, you know, all the funny cars of the day in there, you know, and, you know, the Green Elephant and Jim Dunn, and of course the Snake, you know, and the Mongoose, cars like that. And back then, all the grills and all the taillights and all the lettering was hand done out at, you know, Kirby's or at Circus or up at Carter's, or, you know, Steve Stanford lettered a lot of cars. Kenny Youngblood, Nat Quick, of course. These were my influences of the day, and I emulated what they did and taught myself how to sign paint. I have no formal training. It was just passion for what I wanted to do, and I'd pick up these magazines, and they have, you know, 6 or 7 features of race cars in them, and I would draw them and I'd build the models, and it's just something I always wanted to do and fell in love with it. And you know, I'll never be rich and live in a fancy neighborhood, but it is what it is, and I don't mind putting the key in the door every day. It's just a wonderful career it's afforded me, and it's all done with passion. You know, there's not much else to be said. That anybody who hangs their name on their door, you know, that's usually why they do it. And like I said, with what you're going to see here, it's why I'm in the trade. And there's nothing better than getting paint on your fingers and dirt on your knees and crawling around a hot rod all day long, just making it look cool. The way this project came about was my dear friend Henry Krellick, unfortunately, who's deceased, his son's involved with this car. And, you know, for years he's always said, you know, oh, geez, I can't wait to get you to do something for me and whatever. And Henry and I were pretty tight. And we both had street roadsters when we raced, and, you know, he always called me Double D and things of that nature. And I spent a lot of time in Ohio through the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And so talking with Brian, he introduced me to Steve Crook, who owns this car, along with Mark Stipich and Brian himself. And, you know, we just got BSing about things, and the way things have gone, most of these cars now are lettered in vinyl, and, you know, they do have some appearance to them if a good sign painter, you know, who does vinyl letters them and try to make them right. Some of them are wrapped, and, you know, it is the way of the future, unfortunately. But old school is old school. When you got a 72 Vega, you need to make it look like it did in 72. So I just, you know, took it upon myself, and we chatted a couple times. We did a quick napkin sketch of what it should look like, and he loved it, and just made a trip to Ohio to see my dear friend Frank Mazie, and we sat there and thumbnailed it out on the car, and 2 weeks later it was painted and delivered to my shop, and there you have it. spent hours gold leafing it, hand lettering it with correct letter styles from the 70s that were popular through that era of sign painters. You know, like I said, Kenny Youngblood, Nat Quick, Glen Weisgerber. These are the guys that, you know, made these cars what they were. They were definitely the stars back in the day. The drivers were definitely cool, but boy, you opened up that magazine, you know it was the Blue Max or the Snake or the Mongoose or the custom body car or the Green Elephant. Any of those cars, you knew it from looking at it. And the sign artists and the painters, you know, out of Kirby's shop and at Circus, they're the ones that, you know, put the needle in my arm and it broke off. And I'm very happy with that. The car that you see here is all hand lettered, all time period correct methods that we used. Within reason. The commercial end of things, we've adapted to that only for the sake of business. It is a business and it is a living. These are few and far between these days. 10 years ago, the shop was packed. And it's not that we've fallen off the face of the earth. There's just nobody doing, building race cars and painting them like they used to be. A lot of wraps are going on out there, and there's not as much influence as the cars as there used to be, but boy, we had a great heyday. So did some of the other paint shops and sign painters, and you know, all proud to be in the sign trade. Like I said, this was a lot of fun. At 56, there's not a lot of guys that still hand letter and pinstripe to this caliber of nostalgia. Unfortunately, it's art that's starting to die, and hopefully some young kid will get a kick out of it like I did and move forward with it. I'd be, you know, glad to have them here teaching them. But it has its place, you know, so does the vinyl, and so does the wraps, and so does the commercial end of things, because like I said, it is a living. But when you can get a project like this and sit on a milk crate for a couple of days and enjoy what you do more than anything, and then to see the customer's reaction, and then obviously to see other people's reaction, it's somewhat of an ego trip, but it's very satisfying, and you know, it's something I always wanted to do, so there's never a dull day walking in the door.
Oh, dude. No way. Damn, hell yeah. That's crazy. That's the shit. Isn't that nuts? Wow. S&M auto body, I dig it. Holy shit. Holy shit, man, I love it. That's cool, good shit.
So what you had in mind?
Perfect. Wow, look at that. Look at the fucking lights. Oh man, it's badass. Dude, that's cool as shit. Oh, that's awesome. Wow. Look back here. Look at that. Oh, holy shit, look at that.
That panel worked out okay, huh?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, Vega?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just set the hatches on there so you could kind of see what it looks like, you know.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Dude, that's crazy.
That's from the
That's
pizzeria around the corner.
crazy looking.
You gotta see it outside. It's not even this color.
No.
It's green. It's bitching outside.
It is a cool color,
It's
right?
a very cool color. I'm glad you put some color on it with the stripes and that, because it, you know, if it had all been just the one color, I think it would have just kind of went muddy.
Man, that letter is just fucking off the hook. Yeah, it's the shit. Jesus Christ. I like that.
I can make it real concentrated. You don't have to take the whole car off. You don't have overspray all over everything in the shop. That's all brushed on.
This thing's gonna look so bitchin', man.
That is fucking
They
insane.
pass the door in case something's on.
I gotta watch my mouth because it's
That's all right, dude. We've all heard it.
Oh, that's awesome.
See, and this is how it used to be in here every day. There were no quoting jobs, and You know what I mean? It was like Glenn's shop. We just lettered shit all day long. You pick up any one of the old magazines? No. No. And that's Prudhomme's car. I always just thought the R and the E's were just the fucking coolest thing. See now on the door card? You guys make the lettering on the driver's side better because that's the one that always get. If you make a mistake, do it on the passenger side. So they always tell people, they laugh. Why? I said, because you're never looking at it.
Well, I've seen Glenn trash stuff out too.
Oh, the fuck heard around the world was he was lettering Joe Motto's car years and years ago, and then he did the rig or the back door. And just the next morning he was just outlining and stuff like that. And he went like this, and he had something here next to his cigarette and thinner, and it went.
Oh.
Extra day. And that's that. Folklore has it when he was painting a letter in your car, you'd always put one of your competitor's name in the paint scheme somewhere. Just, you know, hidden, like ghosted underneath something, you know. Like Brad Anderson and Manzo would be